Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Winter Summer Day 38. Today we will be playing some Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth because I love Yakuza. Just gonna be playing the final boss, and guess we'll just go to it.
Yeah, I'm still I'm a noob at the Yakuza franchise. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
Yakuza series, I guess, huh?
Either one.
S- So I played Zero for like 2 hours, and that's my only experience with Yakuza. Um, so Persona,
What about Persona?
I don't know. I just wanted to say Persona.
I
I mean,
mean,
it's an RPG.
hey, uh, published by Sega.
Oh, mm.
Yeah, and you know what else is published by Sega?
Sonic.
Yeah, but you know what else is published by Sega? The game that I'm playing right now.
No way.
Uh-huh.
I actually didn't know Sega made Yakuza.
Yeah, well, it's made by RGG Studios. Sega publishes it. Like
Oh, I see.
Persona's made by Atlas, but Sega publishes it.
Right. Did you have to dub this one over?
No, I won't have to. I haven't done Infinite Wealth yet.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm kind of just kicking your ass. Oh, that's
Yeah.
not you. That's just some random people.
Well, that's teammates.
Oh. Oh, do you have
Then,
set teammates? Like you don't choose. Like you don't build a party.
well, you build a party, but it's specific characters. Okay. I need to turn. You know what? We'll live. We'll live. We'll live. Okay. So he resists gun. He's weak to knife.
How do you just resist a gun?
Built diff, I guess? Oh, he's also weak to electric.
Well, yes. I mean,
Uh,
personally, like I'm also weak to electricity. If I were to get shocked
yeah.
by something, I feel like I would get hurt. I was not expecting it to look like this though.
What do you mean look like this?
Like for a Yakuza game to be like turn-based RPG.
Well, I mean, 7 was. It's 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 a whole thing to get into.
Right. So what's like
I
the
mean,
do you need to like focus and think about this or like
now I'm thinking about this a little bit, but we can yap a bit. I'm just seeing like what stone he has.
so
Okay,
like
so now
what's the lore here? Like what brought this? Like what's the lore behind the game? Like what's the story?
this game. Do you really want to get into if if I were to explain like everything surrounding Infinite Wealth, we would be here for like 3 hours.
I see. So why are we mad at this guy then?
Okay, why are we mad at this guy? So
Is it because his name starts with an E and ends with an A?
no.
Okay. Because I mean, I think names with more than like names that consist of more vowels than like I don't even know that word consonants.
Yeah, consonants.
Yeah, I think that just shouldn't happen. That's a sin.
Plot. We're mad at this guy because this game consists of like an entire conspiracy about how bro is snoozing. Yeah, we are mad at this guy because this game has a whole conspiracy about how. So, there's this whole thing with an island where the two final bosses of this game, which is this guy. This guy is the final boss, but there's also Bryce. Yeah, just a dude named Bryce.
Hmm.
He's a cult leader, basically. and he has like this island that he ships people off to, and it's like a nuclear waste disposal island.
Hmm.
And basically what this guy is trying to do is like he really hates the Yakuza.
I
So
feel like a
he
lot of people
is
do.
well, yes, but this guy really, really hates the Yakuza. And it's because it's something to do with his mom. Like, his dad is like this big Yakuza guy that you know from Yakuza 7. He's the bastard child of that Yakuza guy and his mom. Because the Yakuza guy from the last game, his name's Arakawa, is he was basically being pressured by this one patriarch to be in a to get married to the patriarch's daughter, but he's like, nah, I already got a girl. But the patriarch didn't like that. Okay, everybody's in radius. He's just putting everybody to sleep. God damn.
I guess that's a special move.
Bro woke him up just to be mad.
Dude,
Just to be a hater.
He woke up on the wrong side of the bed.
Just to be a hater. But yeah, so Yakuza guy from the last game was pressured, and he's like, nah. So basically, this guy, Ebina, got left behind to take care of his mom. And his mom basically died, and he's like, I'm really pissed at the Yakuza because they basically left my mom to die.
So, like, valid.
Yeah.
But he's still the bad
And
guy.
Yeah.
Is it one of those things where, like, he's a bad guy, but he's not a bad guy?
Sort of, not really.
So, I mean, you're also Yakuza, so, I mean, technically you're a bad guy, too? I don't know, that part always confused me, because, like, you're also, because, like, aren't the whole time during the series you're fighting other Yakuza?
So the thing is, Kiryu is not a Yakuza.
What?
He was briefly, but he
Oh, that was
isn't
the
for
whole
most
point
of the
of
series.
Zero.
No?
Wait, no, Zero's
Sorta, it's
after.
weird.
Yeah, no, he, like, just, like, he was in it at the beginning of Zero, and then got kicked out, no?
Yeah. He gets kicked out, and then by the end of Zero, he joins back. And then, so in 1, he's part of the Yakuza. And then at the end of 1, he becomes the 4th chairman of the Tojo clan. And then he immediately resigns and leaves the Yakuza. So he is not Yakuza from that point onward.
He tried it and then gave up on it.
Yeah. Oh, so I'm about to die and lose.
Kiryu solo.
I wish, but no, he's about to die. Okay, guys, I'm gonna go back and grind for a little bit, and by go back and grind a little bit, I'm gonna go get my gaming chair. But basically, Kiryu's whole thing is, he has cancer in this game. So his whole arc is, like, he doesn't want to live anymore. He feels like he's caused so much suffering that he doesn't need to live anymore. So he's kind of just letting himself waste away.
Mm-hmm.
But by the end of the game, his whole thing is like, you need to live so you can atone for all the things that you've done. Like, the entire thing about this final battle here is like, Evan is like, no, they need to be punished. I need to kill them. He is like, no, you need to let them live so they can atone.
So it's a battle of ideology.
That's basically every single Yakuza final boss, is a battle of ideology. But the thing is, a lot of people don't like this guy because, like, everything surrounding this guy is really awesome. Because, like, he has a lot of really awesome theming, like I said, with, like, the I need to kill them versus they need to live to atone. He also has a lot of, like, crazy symbolism. Like, Buddhist symbolism. Like,
I mean,
I don't
he
know if you
literally
noticed.
had the circle of Samsara or whatever.
Yeah, like, his attack names are all based on, like, Buddhist mythology.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, his back tattoo, as you can see right there, is also some kind of, like, Buddhist figure, I think. But, like, the thing is, this guy doesn't have enough screen time to be an interesting character. Like,
Right.
all of the shit about, like, his mom being abandoned by the Yakuza and whatnot, is revealed to you in the cutscenes right before this fight, and otherwise you see him for like 10 minutes throughout the whole game.
Damn, they did him dirty.
Yeah. So all of his stuff falls really flat, which is like why a lot of people don't like him that much, including me.
So
I
so
really,
don't like him because they did him dirty.
yeah, he's just not a super interesting character, despite all the cool shit he's got. I don't know. This game's really good for the most part, but it it fucks up in some really weird ways. Because, like, the thing about this game is that, like, 95% of it is good. But the 5% that it fucks up is stuff that you don't want to fuck up.
Right.
Like, your final boss, your main villain, like, your ending, like, some of your emotional beats. I say emotional beats. This game has really good emotional beats, but it also has some that just don't. Like, the entire thing with Ichiban and his mom, like, it's good, but I feel like they could have went farther with it.
Yeah, give the mom some
it
screen
feel-
time.
it
Let
feel-
Kiryu
it
beat the
feels-
shit out of the mom.
It feels out of character for Ichiban, honestly. The mid-fight QTEs in an RPG. Let's go.
That's actually wild. Keeps the audience engaged.
Uh-huh. Alright, now we got the face transition.
Phase 2, he picks up a sword. This isn't my sword!
Yeah.
It actually looks like it is his sword.
Yeah, it probably is.
Oh, and he heals? Sick.
Yeah, it's not gonna be enough. I mean, I'm in my gamer chair now. I'm unstoppable.
True.
Hmm.
Alright, Kiryu, which
What is
one
bro
would you-
doing? Bro is jiggying.
He's trying to dash dance, dude.
Bro is doing the Cupid shuffle. Alright, let's see how much this does.
Oh wait, that actually looks sick. That looks awesome. The hell?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I didn't think they would add Ripper mode to this game.
Yeah, well,
That's basically what we were using.
yeah, that you do basically have Ripper mode.
I mean, really, everything's a Metal Gear Rising reference if you really think about it. That's a sick team attack.
Uh-huh.
So is that guy's whole thing is just he has bad breath?
He's homeless.
Oh.
He's a homeless dude.
Y'all just found him. He's like, "Ayo, join the team."
Well, that's Yakuza 7 lore. Alright, I gotta end it with Essence of Remembrance.
Start singing Dame Dane.
No. Gotta play the first 3 final boss themes for this. So it's like, that's Mine, Fly from Yakuza 3. That's Mine's tattoo. And then we're gonna get Ryuji's tattoo. You gotta play Scattered Moment. Yep, that's Ryuji's tattoo. And you're gonna have Nishiki's tattoo. You gotta play For Whose Sake.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. You don't have to do that.
Yeah, I'm about to
I'm
say,
not gonna make you.
I do not know who you're talking about.
I'm
I don't know
I'm
who
just saying
you
shit.
did not end it with that.
Damn, he lived. Well, let's go.
Hit him with the purse. Hit him with the purse. Hit him with the purse. Do it. Yeah.
We're gonna Dame Dane.
No way. The power of K-pop. Oh.
It's actually
heals you.
J-pop.
Oh, it is J-pop. You're right. I feel like that is the power of Jungkook. So I think K-pop does work there. Oh, his sword's glowing green. Zoro?
Well, actually, Sun Hee is Korean, I think.
I hate when my damage rolls are so low like that.
So true.
I hate when that happens. It's just bad RNG, huh?
Oh, God. Alright, here we go. We are gaming.
14 damage.
This is a MGR reference.
Is he standing here?
He's standing here.
He's actually standing here. Yeah, I definitely wanted to try. I definitely want to try to get into the Yakuza games at some point.
At some point. Well, I
Well,
mean,
I said in some point in the near future.
Once we go to college, I mean, we could do some.
I was thinking about it. That was definitely because the Yakuza series. It seems really cool. So
It is really cool.
I always
And you have an expert right here.
Yeah, that is true. So I mean, so is Yakuza 0 the first one in the franchise?
It's the first one chronologically. It was released after 5.
Oh, so they pulled a Star Wars and didn't release them in chronological order.
No.
I gotcha. Okay.
I mean, it's a prequel, but it's a prequel that justifies being a prequel.
I see. Okay, so yeah, so like from what I understand, so Yakuza 0, right? It's Kiryu, and he has the whole thing with like he's part of the Yakuza, but then everyone's mad at him because they think he murdered someone, right?
Yeah. It because
On like the plot of land on
yeah, the
like
lot.
the New York the New York City apartment plot.
Yep. Fun fact, a lot of the Yakuza games, their Japanese titles have subtitles that aren't brought over to the West. Except for Yakuza 6, for some reason, they translated that subtitle, which is why it's Yakuza 6, The Song of Life. But Yakuza 0's subtitle is The Promised Land, which is, of course, the empty lot.
That's sick. So like,
I don't remember what 5's is. For some reason, 4's subtitle is the only one I know the Japanese version of. It's Ryuga Gotoku 4 Densetsu wo Sugamono, which is the successor of the Legend, which is, very topical for Yakuza 4. But,
how so?
Because Yakuza 4 was the first game to have multiple protagonists. It has a Kiryu,
first game. I think you said only for some reason. I'm like,
No, it's the first game to have multiple
first
protagonists.
game. I see.
This game has multiple protagonists, yeah.
That's what I was thinking. Like, literally talking about Yakuza 0, you got Kiryu and Majima.
Yeah, well, this game, Infinite Wealth, does too. You have Kiryu and Ichiban.
Oh, right.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Ichiban
you
fights
that
Bryce.
at some point.
Yeah. Ichiban's the one who fights Bryce.
Dude, that is like the whitest name. There's no way a Japanese person's named Bryce.
No, it's not. It's not a Japanese person. It's a dude from Hawaii.
Okay, you know what? That's sick. You think he's from the Alola region?
Maybe. Yeah, the whole thing about this game is that they go to Hawaii.
Beach episode?
Sort of. It's sort of.
Is there a Yakuza Beach episode?
I guess this is the Yakuza Beach episode.
That's awesome.
In some ways, that's actually a really good description. Infinite Wealth is the beach episode in some ways, and I'm not going to elaborate any further.
But is it like the filler beach episode, or is there plot in this like beach episode?
A little bit of both.
Cause so it's like manga canon, it's like half canon, half filler.
Yeah, it's a half canon beach episode, and I will not be elaborating on that.
Cause I believe so. There's you got your anime that the beach episode's completely filler, but then you got some that it's like an actual like plot point. And like if I'm not mistaken, I think Blue Exorcist had one like that. If I'm not mistaken.
I'm not much of an anime watcher, so
I figured you even know what I'm talking about when I said Blue Exorcist.
No,
dude, I haven't watched that since in 4 years, 5 years. So that one's rough on the noggin. But that one was pretty good. It was pretty cool, dude. It's the only thing I've ever seen where bro he had beef with some cooking demon.
What?
Like the literal Satan of cooking.
Bro.
And he had beef with him, so they had a cook-off, and then they became best friends. Dude, I don't even remember, man.
Bro.
It's such an acid trip.
But yes, Infinite Wealth is the half canon beach episode of the Yakuza series,
Gotcha. Like
and I'm gonna leave it there.
some cool things happen, some not cool things happen. Makes sense.
I'm gonna leave it there.
We'll not elaborate further.
Nope, that's for my Infinite Wealth analysis that comes out in 2038.
What's your favorite Yakuza game? You've probably told me this one
Three,
already.
Yakuza 3. It's Yakuza 3.
I think you've told me that one already. Actually, you
Oh,
you may have mentioned, you may have not outright told me, but you probably mentioned it.
Yeah.
So like, what's that
I've
one?
deliberated about it for quite some time because it used to be Zero, because Zero is what a lot of people, especially like newcomers, consider to be the best one. Which, I mean, it's a very good game. It's absolutely a great
Is it
game.
like a second or a top 3 at least?
Yeah, it's one of my favorites. It's definitely up there. I still think it's a really good game, but I feel like some of the other ones have definitely surpassed it for me. I was thinking, I'm not sure if I like 5 more, because five's a weird one. I'd have to think about that a lot. I'd probably like 0 more, but like five's got some good stuff. I definitely like 3 more. I absolutely love 3. Judgment. I think I like Judgment more.
Oh yeah, that's the new one though, huh?
No, Judgment was 2018.
What was the new one? Oh, Infinite Wealth.
Yeah, the one we're playing right now.
Oh shit, you're right.
Yeah, yeah, this is the most recent one, which was released in January of this year.
So,
Yeah.
if you were to do, let's start from 0 up, right? Like, is that like,
We're
what's a good
just
way?
going through the whole list,
Well, no, like, what's a good way to organize it?
like the play order.
No, like listing them out. Should we go like 0 up? I want to make a tier
Yeah.
list. I say we start a tier list.
Start a tier list. Okay, are you gonna edit that in?
I'll consider it. I think I may.
Okay, so what are we tiering this list based on?
It's my ideas are either how much you like it or overall how good of a game it is. Let's do the Curve Schnasty tier list.
The Curve Schnasty Junior tier list.
Yes.
Oh, okay. You're really putting me on the spot here. I'm gonna have to think about this one a little bit.
Oh, okay.
So if we're starting at 0,
Yeah, I say let's do 0, 1 through whatever, just whatever order they come in.
yeah, I think 0's probably a free S tier, honestly. Because, I mean, of course, it's the first one I played. It's the first one that most people play. It's a very good game. It's got a great story. It's very fun. It's got wonderful music.
Dame.
Actually, Bakamitai, which is the name of the song that Dame Dane is from,
Oh yeah,
is from
it's
Yakuza
Bakami
5.
Tyrant. Really?
It's from Yakuza 5. Yep, it's from Yakuza 5,
What about
and it got put in 0.
what's what about like 24 Hour Cinderella, man?
Okay, that one is from Yakuza 0.
Banger. Okay, and then
Yeah.
there's what's it, Lost Judgment or is it Judgment? I forgot the name of the other one.
Those are 2 different games.
Oh, those are games?
Yes. You're thinking of the song Judgment.
Song Judgment,
There's the
yes.
song Judgment,
Yes,
and there's
that's what
the
I'm
game
talking about.
Judgment.
No, I'm talking about the song.
Yeah, Judgment
It's
Shinpan
Judgment.
is from
Yeah,
0.
it's Judgment. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, funny enough, Judgment the song is spelled with an E, and Judgment the game is spelled without the E.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's a good way
it's
to
so weird.
separate them. I mean,
Yeah.
because if you Google Yakuza Judgment,
Uh-huh.
I guess they wanted to avoid that conflict.
Maybe, I don't know.
Okay, so what's next from 0?
So next would be 1/Kiwami, because Kiwami is the remake of Yakuza 1. So the crazy thing is, I truly and firmly believe there exists no definitive way to play Yakuza 1.
Okay,
because
elaborate.
okay, so your two options, well, two and a half options, is you have the original Yakuza 1 on the PS2,
Mm-hmm.
which is, from 2005, pretty old game.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, Yakuza 1 on the PS2 is a good game. I've played the original. It's a good game, but it's got its quirks. I mean, obviously, if you're playing the English version, you have the original Yakuza 1 PS2 English dub, which is notorious for being bad.
Mm-hmm.
Bad and silly. Very
Right,
silly.
right.
Like the kill this arrogant motherfucker.
Okay. So it's good,
Excuse
but
you? No. Fuck you.
so are you saying it's funny? It's got its quirks, but it's good.
I'm talking about the dub. The dub for the original
Oh,
Yakuza 1
okay.
is funny, but it's bad. It's funny
Yeah,
bad.
it's like a ghost stories kind of thing.
Yeah.
If,
And
if you know, I don't even know if you know what I'm talking about.
no, I don't, but I'm just gonna roll with it.
Okay.
So
I was about to explain it,
and
but you can keep going.
and the thing about that is, um, yes, Yakuza has its funny moments, but Yakuza also, they're very emotionally driven stories,
Right.
and if you have a bad dub, that can kind of sully the emotional beats a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And Yakuza 1's got a lot of emotional beats. And
And when they're
of
over there
course,
saying, Mr. Doster.
being the first, go ahead, Mr. Joster.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like it takes away from the moments,
Yeah.
Is that what like I get that.
Mm, But yeah, and like being that it's the first game in the franchise and it's such an old game, the gameplay isn't as refined as you might want it to be. It's got some odd, not great feeling stuff. Like your dodge doesn't work very well. It's slow. Your lock-on's pretty bad. You can't turn around mid combo like you can in the later games. It's just a lot of stuff that doesn't feel great.
Mm-hmm.
And plus, like Yakuza 1, like gameplay design wise, with its long battles and its just like fights and its boss fights and stuff, isn't as refined as the later games, which is to be expected. It's the
Right,
first
right,
game of the
yeah.
franchise. Um, but just at the end of the day, original PS2 Yakuza 1, bad dub, and it's a very clunky game to play.
Mm-hmm.
And then the reason I say there's like two and a half options is because you also have the HD collection of Yakuza 1 and 2 on the PS3 and the Wii U for some reason, but mostly on the
Sick.
PS3.
Sick.
Fun fact, the Yakuza 1 and 2 HD collection is the only Yakuza game to ever be released on a Nintendo console.
That's W. W.
Yep. But yeah, so you also have that option, but that was never released outside of Japan. So it's in Japanese.
Mm-hmm.
So you technically have that option. You can play through the game with a guide. It's not that hard to play through the game in Japanese. I have. That's how I played the PS2 original Yakuza 1, was the Japanese only HD version, because for some reason the PS2 version didn't want to emulate very well on my computer, but the HD version works just fine.
Gotcha.
But then you also have Yakuza Kiwami, and the Kiwami games are notorious for many reasons. They reuse a lot of assets, and the whole Yakuza series reuses a lot of its assets, but it's usually pretty smart with how it does it. The Kiwami games are not very smart with how they do it. Uh,
Right.
you basically have no original bosses. Uh, it's rehashed gameplay from Yakuza 0, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I honestly think it's a downgraded version, just with some of the basic mechanics. Like, I'm not too huge on how the style switching system works in Kiwami. I kind of prefer how it works with the quick change close in Zero, and just like little things sometimes, like your stun attack in Brawler doesn't stun anymore. It launches for some reason, and that kind of messes with your like wall bound combos and stuff, which basically don't exist in Kiwami.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and there's also stuff like Majima Everywhere, which is a system, which kind of sucks because not only does it kind of take away from the main story Majima fights that you have in Yakuza 1, but it's the only way to upgrade your dragon style, which sucks unless you do Majima Everywhere. And even then, you have to grind Majima Everywhere for like fucking 20 hours just to get your dragon style worth a damn.
Mm-hmm.
And one big thing about Kiwami is the soundtrack. Kiwami's soundtrack is, in my opinion, the only miss that the Yakuza series has ever had.
So
Because,
it sounds like Kiwami's really dragging down Yakuza 1. Or do you want to separate Yakuza 1 into Kiwami HD and normal?
I mean, you can lump together the original and HD.
Okay, so
But-
so HD doesn't have as many of the flaws as Kiwami.
Yeah, I mean, you can lump together
On
the
the
original
list, should
and
I
HD
just
'cause
should
they're
I just
basically the same.
shade Kiwami in green? Should I just have the Yakuza 1 title just in green?
You could. Okay, so the thing about the green is that the green is mostly a Kiwami 2 thing. There's a little bit of a green filter in Kiwami 1, but it's way more pronounced in Kiwami 2, which is where the green jokes come from.
I still think Kiwami. It's still Kiwami though. I think I still should do
But
it.
yeah, the soundtrack is the only miss that the Yakuza series has ever had, because these games have banger soundtracks. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so much good music has come out of this series, but for some reason in Kiwami they went like this weird direction where like they tried to remaster a lot of the music from the original, like do remakes of it, and the style that they went for was just like this weird overproduced techno crap that I don't think really worked.
Mm-hmm.
And like the original Yakuza 1 had like this very unique sound for the series. It was like this 2000s grunge kind of feel that I really liked and a lot of people really liked. And I think like the biggest example of that is the original why can't I think of the name? Why can't I think of the name? It's Shimano's theme. Pray Me, Pray Me. The original Pray Me versus Pray Me Revive, which is the remade version for Kiwami. The original Pray Me is such a great song. Pray Me Revive, not so much. It kind of sucks. And that goes for a lot of the music. I mean, not to say that Kiwami doesn't have good music. I mean, like the final boss theme, the remade version of For Whose Sake is pretty good. And the Flirt with Bomb remake is pretty good. Stuff like that. Funk Goes On is alright. You know, there's some good stuff, but I feel like for the most part it's just overproduced techno bullshit, and it's not that good.
Mm-hmm.
So if I had to rank them, because I've been rambling about Yakuza 1 for a little bit, the original Yakuza 1 is a solid B tier. Kiwami, I'd say, is a C tier.
Wait, which one was that? Sorry.
Yeah, original Yakuza 1's B tier, and Kiwami 1 is C tier. Yeah, so B tier original, C tier Kiwami.
Really? After all you said about Kiwami, it's mid?
Yeah, I mean, it's still a good game. It's just got some weird stuff.
Is there gonna be any of these that go below mid?
Yes, there will.
Oh, okay.
A lot of people will say there are no bad Yakuza games. I disagree,
Mm-hmm.
but there are very few bad Yakuza games.
Okay, so 2.
There's only like 2, yeah. So 2. Yakuza 2's in a much better state because the original Yakuza 2 is basically just Yakuza 1 but better.
Okay.
First of all, you don't have to deal with a shitty English dub. You have the
Mm-hmm.
Japanese dub with the English subs, which is good. And you just have better all-around gameplay. So, I do think that original Yakuza 2 is definitely an option this time if you want like a true good experience. Kiwami 2 is kind of a shit show, honestly. And to get into why it's a shit show might take a little too long, but to summarize, uh, it's got some soundtrack issues, but like Kiwami, but I don't think it's as bad as Kiwami. Uh, it removes a lot of content. It has the green filter, of course.
Sick.
Uh, s- some of the music, I know that I guess this could also be under soundtrack, but some of the music that they chose to replace the licensed music from the original Yakuza 2 just doesn't work. Uh, the boss design isn't great. The gameplay isn't great. This is something that I've deliberated about for a long time, but I actually think that Kiwami 2 plays worse than Yakuza 6, which is a huge hot take
I wouldn't know.
because Kiwami 2 is literally just Yakuza 6's gameplay, but faster. But I just feel like it loses the weight that Yakuza 6 had. Because Yakuza 6's gameplay gets a lot of flack for how slow and clunky it can be. But I feel like you just have to play it differently from some of the Yakuza's games. It's still not the best, but there's still a lot of fun that you can have with it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I put it this way: Yakuza 6 is my favorite Muso. It's my favorite Muso game.
Wait. Yakuza 2. Let's not jump ahead in 6
Yeah,
here.
let's not. No, I'm segueing back into Kiwami 2. Yakuza
Okay.
6 is my favorite Muso, and Kiwami 2 loses that. Kiwami 2 just has such shallow gameplay that I feel like it's not even worth it. Because it loses a lot of the stuff that Yakuza 6 had. And it ends up being just kind of, as I said, shallow game to play.
Right.
So, not great gameplay, some soundtrack issues, some licensed music issues, removes a lot of content, looks ugly because of the green filter. Uh, just not great. But still a passable way to play Yakuza 2. So, original Yakuza 2 is probably A tier. Kiwami 2... Kiwami 2's D tier.
Below Kiwami 1.
Yeah. Kiwami 2 is a step down from Kiwami 1, definitely. So, then we have Yakuza 3. S tier, kind of a hot take depending on who you ask. A lot of people would want to put Yakuza 3 in C or D tier because, haha, Yakuza 3. But I love Yakuza 3. It's S tier for me personally.
Below
and this is
or
the
above Yakuza 0?
above.
Above 0. Oh.
Yep. This is the personal Curve Nasty Junior list.
Yeah, no, I agree. No, I'm just saying, like, ooh, like, I didn't know it was that. Like, you're saying hot take. So I'm saying,
hot
like, whoa,
take,
even hotter
it's my
take
favorite
now.
game in the series.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
hot take, it's my favorite in the series.
Okay.
So are we counting spin-off games?
Will that add a lot? Like, how many spin-offs?
It'll add a good few. For some of them, I don't have too much to say, like Kenzen.
Well, I'm not too worried about how much you have to say. I'm saying how many are there.
There's a good few.
Give me a number, please.
Let me count. Okay, so there's Kenzen, there's 6.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's not. Yeah, sure. Why not?
There might be 1 or 2 I'm missing, but 6, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So if we go back briefly to Kenzen, which is before 3, Kenzen, which you probably don't know, is the Japanese-only spin-off samurai game.
Samurai.
Yep, that takes place in the 1600s.
That's awesome. That's S tier for me, bro.
The game itself, I can't say too much about the story because it's in Japanese. But from what I've played, Kenzen is pretty fun. It's also really pretty. It's a beautiful game to look at. It's got like great landscapes and all that. I I can't say much about it, so I'm just gonna yoink it in B tier.
Above or below
Above
Yakuza 1?
Yakuza 1.
Above Yakuza 1.
Above. Yeah. Because I have more fun playing Kenzin, I'd say.
Yeah, and I agree with the B tier because it sounds like the gameplay from so like how you described it. The gameplay is like an A tier, but like since you don't know enough about it, like from story perspective, can't really give it that liberty of being an A tier.
I think the story is actually one of the things that stopped it from being localized. Because it's kind of outdated because it has like child prostitution as part of the story.
Oh, okay. Moving on.
Yeah.
Next game, Yakuza 4.
Yeah. Next is Yakuza 4. I used to hate Yakuza 4. I still don't think it's amazing, but I've lightened up on it. It's still, kind of a hot take. I'd say like a C tier. Because, so Yakuza 4 uses the same engine as Yakuza 3.
Mm-hmm.
And by all accounts, it's got an improved combat system. It honestly has some of the best core combat in the whole series. But, and this is a ginormous but, Yakuza 4 has way worse combat scenarios. A lot of its long battles are mediocre at best, and a lot of its boss fights are bad. It has 3 of the absolute worst F- tier boss fights in the whole series, being the chainsaw dude, who has super armor that you can't break at all for the entire fight, and a chainsaw, so you can't even block it. It has the mini boss fuckers at the end of the last long battle, which just gang you up. All have weapons. One has a gun, I think, and giant health bars, so have fun with that. And Munakata, the final boss, who is a ginormous group fight, and the main boss has a gun. He sits in the back and shoots you while you have to deal with like 20 dudes. And you're also playing as the weakest character in the game, with the worst crowd control.
Oh.
Yeah.
So, below or above Kiwami 1?
Hold on, I'm not finished on Yakuza 4
sorry.
yet. Yakuza 4 also has a not great story. If I had to briefly sum it up, because Yakuza 4 is in 4 parts for the 4 protagonists. You start out as Akiyama. Akiyama has great gameplay. Kind of a mess story. He's got some good stuff, but I mean, Akiyama's part is before it really starts to derail and get bad, but it's still not the best. Then you go to Saejima. Saejima, his gameplay is but Saijima's story is really good. Like, it's really, really good. But a lot of people don't like playing a Saejima in 4 because he's really slow. He's like the big slow guy with lots of super armor, but it just doesn't pan out the best.
Build.
Yeah, he's the tank. But it just doesn't pan out the best. Like, especially like in the final boss of his part, which is Majima. Majima just runs circles around him. It's not a fair fight at all.
Oh, so it's just unfair. Gotcha.
Yeah. Then you go to Tanimura, and Tanimura, his part of the story is all right, I guess. And his gameplay is fine, but he has overall the worst, like, gameplay scenarios. Like, he's the guy who's worst equipped to fight groups, and he has the most groups. And then you finally get to Kiryu. He's the last part, and Kiryu does absolutely nothing in this game. He does nothing in Yakuza 4.
Sick.
He barely he has very little reason to be there at all. But I mean, it's Kiryu, so he plays fine.
Hmm.
And it's just the story is all over the place, and it's not really good. It, that's also for my analysis of the game that comes out in 2028. Um, so yeah, C tier for Yakuza 4.
Above or
Then after
below?
Yak,
Above or below Kiwami?
above Kiwami.
Okay.
So then we have Kuruhyo 1, which is a spinoff for the
Holy,
PSP.
how do you spell that?
Kurohyu.
Okay.
It's the PSP spinoff, and
PSP S tier.
I don't think it's an S tier, but Kuruhyo 1, pretty damn fun, if I'm being honest. It's got the Naked Panther, which is one of the best songs in the franchise, honestly. Uh, it's a pretty simple game, though. I like Tatsuya. Tatsuya's a pretty cool protagonist. I wish that they'd bring him back. Uh, Kuruhyo 1 gets a, I'm thinking either high B tier or low A tier.
Either behind Yakuza 2 or above Kenzen.
Put it above Kenzen in B tier.
Okay.
So then after is Yakuza Dead Souls. Oh my god. Yakuza Dead Souls is the zombie shooter spinoff that almost killed the series in the West.
That is crazy. It's Dead Souls, you said?
Yeah, Dead Souls.
Mm-hmm.
Dead Souls gets a lot of hate, but honestly, Dead Souls is peak. That game is so fun.
Peak? Okay,
I mean,
okay.
Like, it doesn't have the best story. For some reason, it runs at like 25 FPS, even on PS3, the console that it was made for. Please, can we get a Dead Souls remaster RGG? Honestly, hot take, bottom of A tier.
Okay. Below Yakuza 2.
Yeah, that game is just fun. That game is straight up fun. If nothing else. So then there's Kuruhyo 2. Kuruhyo 2, I think it's got some. The story, I'd say, is worse in some ways to Kuruhyo 1, but and like the boss fights, I'd say aren't quite as good as Kuruhyo 1, but Kuruhyo 2 has better gameplay, like better combat,
Mm-hmm.
and it's got a better like final boss. And honestly, I respect the balls on Kuruhyo 2 to literally have the final boss like shoot himself in the head on camera at the end of the game.
That's insane.
Because like I mean, a lot of other final bosses of this series have killed themselves at the end of the games. Like, do you want spoilers?
Nah, it don't matter.
Okay, so Yakuza 1, there's a bomb that goes off that the final boss shoots the bomb to, like, save Kiryu.
Mm-hmm.
Yakuza 3, the guy jumps off a roof of a giant hospital with the other big bad guy to save Kiryu. Yakuza 4, the guy just shoots himself because he'd be going to prison. And probably someone else I'm thinking of, but that's enough examples.
Right.
But Kuruhyo 2, all the other ones are like, you don't get to see it.
Yeah.
Like, at least partially off screen. Kuruhyo 2, it's on screen.
Sick.
You get to see it. And I gotta respect the balls that they have for doing that. So, I'm gonna say that Critico 2 goes in A tier, right under Yakuza 2.
So above Dead Souls.
Yeah, above Dead Souls.
Okay.
So then next is Yakuza 5. Yakuza 5. Yakuza 5 is a really interesting one because Yakuza 5 is the big game. It's the largest scale game.
Bakamitai.
Yeah, it's also the one that had Bakamitai. It's the largest scale game in the whole franchise, and I still don't think they've topped it, even with Infinite Wealth, which is
Ooh.
like this giant 40-hour adventure
Mm-hmm.
that goes to Hawaii and back. Um, it's just like Yakuza 5 feels bigger. It feels big. But it Yakuza 5 also has like the biggest highs and the biggest lows because I mean, if we go through the parts again because Yakuza 5 is in 4 parts. It's in 5. There's a finale part too. So you start out with Kiryu this time instead of him being dead last. And his part is pretty good because it's like the start of Kiryu's downfall, Yakuza 5. Because it's when like he gets separated from Haruka, which is like his adoptive daughter, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And he basically goes into depression and he like moves away from his orphanage.
Mm-hmm.
And it's pretty good. I like it. And then you go to Saejima, and Saejima had the best part in Yakuza 4. He has the worst part in Yakuza 5. It's
Damn.
not good. It's like kind of a retracing of what Yakuza 4 did, where like you start out in prison and you have to break out of prison, but it's just way worse because the prison part takes way too long. And then you're like in a village hunting bears for a whole chapter, and it's boring. And
Just hunting
then
bear. Okay.
yeah, and then like you don't get to the actual city where you do the Yakuza plot until the last chapter in his part. And he has the worst city with like 80 billion invisible walls. When you're editing this in post with like the tier list and all that, I'm gonna send you a clip of me getting stuck between a car and an invisible wall. And I was on legend difficulty, which means that I have to load a save. I can't just die and restart. I had
Mm-hmm.
to load a save at the beginning of the chapter, which made me really mad. And it's just it's poo poo. It's bad, bad. And then you go to part 3, which is Haruka and Akiyama. Akiyama in Yakuza 5 is like Kiryu in Yakuza 4. Bro does absolutely nothing. Does not contribute to the plot at all, apart from like 2 things. And Haruka's fine. Her part's fine. She also introduces maybe the most controversial character in the series, Park, which is her like manager at her idol agency. And Park is a very misunderstood character because legitimately if it wasn't for her, the entire series past Yakuza 5 would not happen.
Mm-hmm.
It just wouldn't. I'm not gonna go into that, but it wouldn't. But the thing about Park is a lot of people get mad at her for being a bitch because she's a bitch, but like she's a bitch for a reason because she's supposed to represent like the evils of the Japanese idol industry. Because like she is a very evil person. Let me look at my list of things that she did that I got when
You
I wrote
just
my Yakuza
you
5
just have
review.
okay.
Let me take a look, see if I can pull it up really quick. I gotta get to Yakuza 5 though. This is a long list of my Twitter thread of games that I play. All right, there's Persona 5. Uh, there's Ghost Trick, Obama boss fight, Bayonetta 3, Teardown, FNAF Help Wanted. Oh, there's Yakuza
You
6,
played
Yakuza
Help
5.
Wanted?
Okay, yeah, Help Wanted's fun. Number one, Park guilt-tripped Kiryu into thinking that he's a bad parent and is dragging down all of his children. Uh, she basically kidnapped Haruka and disallowed her to see Kiryu ever again, and vice versa, disallowed Kiryu from seeing Haruka ever again. She guilt-tripped Haruka and basically manipulated her into adopting her own goals. Uh, she's a terrible boss. Uh, she basically Stockholm syndromed Haruka into thinking of her as a mother, despite Kiryu being a much better parent.
Mm-hmm.
Her manipulation of Haruka makes Haruka speak so highly of Park that after Park dies, everyone completely forgets all of the terrible shit that Park has done and makes them go through a concert that is extremely dangerous, that literally is in danger of getting Haruka assassinated, but they're doing it anyway because it's what Park would have wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Like, literally everyone forgets that Park is a terrible person and you should not be listening to her. And that's the problem with Yakuza 5 is that, like, yes, Park is a bad person. She's supposed to be a bad person. But the game fails in that they don't call her out for it. Like, she's supposed to, as I said, represent how bad the Japanese idol industry is, but how are you calling out the Japanese idol industry if you're not calling out the character that's supposed to represent the Japanese idol industry? It doesn't make sense.
Right.
That's like the one big flaw with Yakuza 5. But a lot of the other stuff in Yakuza 5 is really good. So it kind of outweighs it. So I'd still say that Yakuza 5 is like the bottom of A tier. Still a fun game.
Bottom of A tier?
Yeah, bottom of A tier.
Under
Plus,
Dead
Yakuza 5
Souls.
also yeah. Yakuza 5 also has Shinada, who has the last part, and Shinada's like a standalone story, and it's a really good standalone story. So next is Zero, which we already went over. Then after Zero is, let me think, is Yakuza 6. So Yakuza 6 is interesting.
Oh boy.
It's once again a game that would take far, far too long to get into right now. But it's the first game in the Dragon Engine, which is the engine that Infinite Wealth here is running on. And it has a lot of clunkiness to it. So the gameplay suffers a lot because of it. I said earlier when I was talking about Kiwami 2 that a lot of people think Yakuza 6 is really slow. It doesn't feel right to play. And I honestly agree with that. There's a lot... You have to play Yakuza 6 differently than how you do other Yakuza games. As I said, Yakuza 6 is my favorite Muso. But I still think if you play it right, Yakuza 6 is really fun. It's pretty fun. And when I did my no damage of Yakuza 6, I was like dreading it because I don't like Yakuza 6. Or at least I didn't. I still am not a fan of it that much, but going out of my Yakuza 6 no damages, I actually found myself liking the gameplay a lot more. Simply because I found the right way to play it, which is you kind of just you gotta play with the slowness and the heaviness of it. You gotta play with the weight. You can't fight against it. You have to play with it, and when you play with it, the game suddenly becomes a lot more fun. But yeah, the story of Yakuza 6 is very controversial. I'm one of the people who really hates it because it, like, I don't hate parts of it. I th- I don't hate the whole thing with Haruka and Yuta getting together. I don't hate that. I don't like the Hirose family. I think they're just the Ryudo family from Yakuza 3, but worse.
Mm-hmm.
And that sucks because the Ryudo family from Yakuza 3 is awesome, but the Hirose family is just not. They, for some reason, even though Yakuza 6 was supposed to be Kiryu's original, like, last game, a
Yeah,
lot
you
of,
saw how that worked out.
yeah, like, we're gonna get to that in a second, but for some reason, even though it was supposed to be Kiryu's, like, last game originally, they decided to not wrap anything up. They didn't bring back any of the like legacy characters. Like Majima is in Yakuza 6 for a whole 30 seconds. Uh Yakuza 6 is the only mainline Yakuza game, not including Zero because he's a protagonist, where you don't fight Majima.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the other characters just don't exist. Like Saejima gets thrown back in prison and doesn't exist. Akiyama is in the game and actually has a boss fight, but after like the first couple chapters, he disappears basically until the very end. And it's not like he does anything, because Akiyama has a track record of doing absolutely nothing in the Yakuza series outside of Yakuza 4. And it's just like a lot of the other characters that you would expect to show up just don't. It's all new characters, and not all of them really stick the landing. And even if they did, this is Kiryu's last game. Why don't we have like some of the old characters coming back to really wrap things up?
Right, all the loose ends.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't like the final boss as well and the ending. Uh, the final boss isn't great. Kind of a loser. I mean, he's supposed to be a loser, but he just really doesn't fit the bill. And it doesn't really feel earned, really. The game kind of goes out on a little bit of a wet fart in terms of gameplay. And the ending's a big point of controversy. For me, in theory, on paper, the ending of Yakuza 6 is really good. Because the ending of Yakuza 6 is after. So, what happens in Yakuza 6 is at some point, Kiryu reveals that apparently in Okinawa, or not Okinawa, in Hiroshima, there is this giant boat, battleship, that's been sitting there since World War II. And it's been, like, hidden underwater for the longest time because of some, like, government shit where this warship was never supposed to be built. And the fact that it exists is a violation of, like, all kinds of government contracts and treaties and shit. And he unearthed it. So now the government's after his ass.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of the game, there's like this organization, the Daidoji faction, that's like, hey, we didn't like that, but if you come work for us and never see your family ever again, we'll allow you to live.
Good deal.
Yeah. So basically, he signs a contract where he goes to work for the Daidoji, and he never gets to see his family ever again.
And this is all still Yakuza 6?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, he does it because he wants his family to be safe. He doesn't want, like, the Yakuza or their government or anyone to interfere with them. So he's like, okay, I'm giving up myself so my family can live a good life.
Right.
But, good ending. I think that's a decent ending. But the entirety of Yakuza 6 is just stumbling over itself for the entirety of its runtime, that the ending doesn't feel earned. It doesn't feel like what we did to get there meant anything.
Right, right.
So I really hate the ending of Yakuza 6. And I'm so glad that basically the entirety of Yakuza 7, Gaiden, and Infinite Wealth is a giant apology for it. Like, okay, guys, we're sorry. We're gonna try this over again. And yeah, so Yakuza 6 is a giant mixed bag for me, but think I want to put it at the very bottom of B tier.
Below Yakuza 1, above Yakuza 4.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Which
Okay.
means next is, I think, Fist of the North Star Lost Paradise.
Holy shit.
Because, yes, RGG made a Fist of the North Star Yakuza spinoff.
Okay.
Oh shit. I completely forgot about Ishin. Yeah, Ishin is before Kiwami in 2016. Or no. I'm tripping. It's after Yakuza 5, before 0.
Okay.
So Ishin is the second samurai spinoff,
Yo, Esther.
except this time it's in the 1800s and not the 1600s.
200 years later. Fire.
Yes. Original Ishin we're talking about, because there's an Ishin Kiwami that got released in 2023. This original Ishin is from 2014.
Okay.
And it was, like Kenzen, never released outside of Japan. It's not in English. I have played a single chapter of original Ishin. So, just going off of what I know from Ishin Kiwami and what I have played gameplay-wise of original Ishin, we're gonna say that it's below Yakuza 5.
In A tier or...
In A tier, yeah.
And that's Ishin
So-
1, right?
Well, original Ishin.
So Ishin, not Kiwami. Well, you might as well knock
Yeah.
off Kiwami right now.
Yeah, we're gonna get there when we get there.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
So, back to Fist of the North Star. The reason that it reminded me of Ishin is because I haven't finished it. I played like half of it.
Okay.
And so I can't make a full judgment. Has nothing to do with Judgment, which is actually the next game after Fist of the North Star. So Fist of the North Star is from what I played, it's very fun. It's very fun, like, just core gameplay wise. But the grind is terrible.
There's a grind.
The grind is
Interesting.
awful. For some reason, Fist of the North Star is the only non-RPG Yakuza game to have levels. And your damage and defense scales with your level. So if you're not a high enough level, you just gotta hold the L.
Just, yep. I got you.
Mm-hmm. And the story is just there. It's not super important. So I'm gonna say that Fist of the North Star is above Yakuza 4 and C tier.
Okay.
So, Judgment. This is easy. Judgment is below Yakuza 3 and S tier.
In between 3 and 0?
Yep. Judgment is an incredible game.
And it's no E.
Yeah, no E.
Okay.
Yeah, Judgment is an incredible game. Very fun. Probably the best story in the entire franchise. Just a really, really, really good game. Maybe too much to get into now, but it's very good. So after
Okay.
Judgment is Yakuza 7, aka Yakuza Like a Dragon. Ooh. I got a lot of thoughts on Yakuza Like a Dragon. I don't like RPGs. And Yakuza 7 is a very unfriendly game to people who don't like RPGs.
I got you.
Compared to Infinite Wealth is much better for non-RPG likers like me. Yakuza 7 is not. Yakuza 7 is a very unforgiving game if you don't play by its rules. I almost dropped Yakuza 7 because I could not bring myself to get through the gameplay. That said, the story and the characters of Yakuza 7 are absolutely wonderful. It's a great narrative, and Ichiban and the gang are awesome. But I just can't get through that gameplay, man. Funnily enough, Jay Reno who's a Yakuza modder, went through the process of making a brawler mod for Yakuza 7. So if you wanted to, you can go and download that mod and play Yakuza 7 like the rest of the games in the franchise, minus Infinite Wealth.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it is. It's very much nothing like the rest of them. It's unpolished.
Is that
that's to be
is
expected.
that the one with the guy that looks like Eric Andre?
Yes, that's Ichiban.
S tier.
Yeah. But it's very much unpolished, which is to be expected. It's a fan mod, and it's not an actual game. And it's a dude trying to transform an RPG into a brawler game.
Yeah, that's just ridiculous.
Which is very possible for Yakuza. Because, you know, it still uses a lot of, like, the systems from the older games. Just RPG-ified, but un-RPG-ifying them. You know, some stuff gets lost in translation, but still, it's a very good mod. And that is really the only way that I can stomach playing that game.
Okay.
So if this was not a personal tier list, if this was a more objective tier list, Yakuza 7 would be much higher. But
Personal,
since this is a personal tier list,
personal.
It's going to be a lot lower. Because as much as I love the story of Yakuza 7, and as much as I love Ichiban and all the other people, I just can't bring myself to play through it. So, I'd say it goes at bottom of B tier.
Under Yakuza 6.
Yeah, under Yakuza 6.
Okay.
So next is going to be Lost Judgment, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, Lost Judgment. Which is the sequel to Judgment. And Lost Judgment is a very interesting game. Basically what it boils down to is the story isn't quite as good as Judgment, but it has probably the best combat system in the whole franchise. Because some of the shit people can do in Lost Judgment is insane.
I think you showed me a few things.
It's the DMC5 of the Yakuza series. When it comes to gameplay. Because there's just so much. It's crazy. That game is so fun to play. Also has a very good villain. Very, very good villain. One of the best of the franchise. But the story leaves a lot to be desired. Bosses, mixed bag. But they're still fun enough. They're brought up by the core gameplay. So they're fun enough. I'd say Lost Judgment probably goes in the bottom of S tier.
Okay.
Still a very, very good game. So after Lost Judgment is Lost Judgment The Kaito Files, which is the DLC for Lost Judgment.
That's a whole other thing?
Yeah, it's a whole, like, side story. Which follows Kaito, which is a side character from Lost Judgment and Judgment. So the Kaito Files, I really like the Kaito Files. It still builds off of like the base Lost Judgment systems.
It's a bit of a black sheep.
Nah, I wouldn't necessarily. I mean, in some ways it is, but I wouldn't necessarily say that Kaito Files is the black sheep. Yakuza 3 is the black sheep. But anyways, so Kaito Files is it's fairly short, which is Oh, I mean, it's a DLC of a pre-existing game, so
Yeah, it's not gonna be
it's
long.
like 4 hours ish. Still pretty meaty. Uh, it's honestly pretty damn good. A lot more than you would expect, honestly, for a DLC. Now, Yakuza has tried something in the past, kind of like it, with the Majima Saga, which was a little side thing in Kiwami 2. I wouldn't put it as its own game, so I'm not going to rank it. If I were to rank it, though, it would probably be F tier, because it's really bad.
Wait, what were you
It's
talking
really,
about
really
again?
bad. The Majima Saga, which is a little side thing in Kiwami 2, which takes like an hour at most, probably less.
You're not including
Where
it?
you,
Okay.
yeah. But if I were to include it, it'd be F tier because it's really bad.
Uh,
It's got like two good things, three good things, which is like it does a little extra thing with the story of Yakuza 0, which I think is nice. Um, it's got update with gunfire, which is a really good boss track, and it's got a really good dynamic intro on the final boss of it. But that's it.
mm-hmm.
So, back to Kaito Files. Uh, I really like how it builds on Kaito's character, and it's got one of the best final bosses, I'd say. It's a really, really great final boss with one of the best songs in the franchise, The Duel, which is, uh, The Duel is my outro song for my YouTube channel, actually. It's what I use. Um, Fun fact. So, yeah, as I was saying earlier about the Kaito Files, it builds off of the Lost Judgment systems, but it does take your brawler style and your beast style from Yakuza 0 and kind of just paste them onto Kaito. And I feel like they definitely don't meld as well with Lost Judgment as, the styles for Yagami that were made specifically for that game do. Crane, Snake, Tiger, and Boxer. But they're still fun. They're still very fun to mess around with. And it's Lost Judgment, so it's not like it's going to be bad. It's still a blast to play. And as I said, I really like the story. It's a pretty. It's unique, and it's also kind of callbacky to Yakuza 1 in some ways. But, like, in a good way. And I think it's a very good way to build on Kaito's character. Very fun, very good, like, bosses, good long battles. I'd say it's a solid A tier. What do we have in A tier?
Yakuza 2, Kurio 2, Dead Souls, and Yakuza 5. Oh, and Ishin.
You can put it at the top of A tier above Yakuza 2.
Ooh, okay.
So after Kaito Files is Ishin Kiwami. And, Ishin Kiwami is going to be our only F tier. Ishin Kiwami is fucking terrible.
Okay.
I don't know how that game made it past playtesting. Basically what's wrong with that game is, well, the one big issue that drags it down to F tier is that it doesn't fucking work.
What?
You can't play it. So you know how in the Yakuza games you press buttons and those buttons do attacks, right?
Sounds right.
And if you do your attacks good enough, you can do a combo, right?
Right.
Combos don't exist in
How
Ishin Kiwami.
did they fuck that up?
Basically all
You just
of
punch once and then wait a second, then punch once again?
basically
Wow.
if you try to do a combo in Ishin Kiwami on a boss, what's going to happen is the boss will either A, super armor through it, B, just attack you, or C, turn around and block it.
Huh.
So, you literally can't use, like, half your moves. You literally just have to Like do 2 taps on a boss, then weave out, and then 2 taps again, weave out, 2 taps again, and that's the only way to play the game. Every single boss in Ishin Kiwami is insufferable to fight because you literally can't do anything. Not to
Sick.
mention like the trooper card bullshit that they pulled. So like you have to equip like superpowers on your character in order to play the game. Granted, you don't have to use them, but you have to equip them. And even if you don't use them, the bosses use them. So basically, like, you're halfway through the fucking final boss, and he just decides to pull out a fucking Kamehameha on your ass, and you just gotta hold that. Because for some reason, they decided to make everybody Goku and with superpowers for some reason. And God, I fucking hate Ishin Kiwami. And
He
there's like
heard the
little
combos are pretty strong. He had to fight him.
there's like little stuff too with how like they replaced some of the like character models in game with other characters, because like the whole thing about Ishin is that like it's a spin-off, but it uses like alternate universe versions of pre-existing characters, and a lot of the ones that they changed it for Ishin Kiwami, they changed some of them. And like just for example, like I think the worst example is in the original Ishin, the final boss, Takechi, is an original character. But in Ishin Kiwami, they just make him the final boss of Yakuza 0 for some reason. Like, what? Why would you do that? He was like a whole ass character that you just removed now because he's just Shibusawa. Like, what? I don't understand it. And there's like some weird music stuff too. Like they replaced some of the music from the original for some reason. I don't know. That game sucks to play. I don't like playing it. It's not fun. Just get it out of my face. F tier.
Mm-hmm.
So then we have Like a Dragon Gaiden, the man who erased his name. You can just put Like a Dragon Gaiden because that's a long title.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, I got a lot to say. A lot to say on Gaiden.
Oh boy. Yeah, let me grab my popcorn real quick.
Yeah. So Gaiden is the side game, not a spin-off, a side game that they made to kind of bridge the gap between Yakuza 7 and Yakuza 8, which is Infinite Wealth here.
Mm-hmm.
It's a shorter game, and it's only 5 chapters, but it's like its own thing, and it takes place during the events of Yakuza 7. So Gaiden's a huge mixed bag. First of all, that game kind of sucks to play. The combat is just a huge downgrade from earlier games for no reason. Like, for some reason, your Yakuza style, which is the one that you have from Yakuza 6 and Kiwami 2, is really slow. It doesn't feel fun to use at all. Your agent style, which is the new one from Gaiden, is just really weak for the most part outside of the gadgets. And you do have juggling like you do in the Judgment games. But for some reason, they nerfed juggling from Lost Judgment to where now it's on a timer. You can only do juggles for 6 seconds. Which, like, there was already a limit to how long you could do juggles in Lost Judgment and Judgment. Mostly Lost Judgment. It's mostly, like, building off of what Lost Judgment did. Because, you know, like, the enemy's slowly going to sink back to the ground, so you can only do a juggle for so long. But no, there's a hard limit of 6 seconds in Gaiden. So you're already dealing with some pretty nerfed tools, and your main combo type, which is your juggle combos, just stops working. It's just not there. So Gaiden is honestly one of the hardest games in the series simply because you don't have options. And the only way to like play that game is to super armor with Yakuza style and just spam healing items. But if you're trying to not do that, the game is super hard.
So
Granted, some of the more advanced stuff, which is really hard to learn, is pretty cool actually. but still. So like once you get more advanced, it's not as bad because there's like rejuggle setups and all that you can do, but
There's just a learning curve.
uh I don't know. I wouldn't say a learning curve is a good way to put it. Because like if you're just like baby mashing buttons, you're good. If you try to do anything more than mashing buttons, you're not good. But if like you spend the hours to learn how to do the advanced shit, suddenly you're good again.
Gotcha.
There's no in between. And as for the story, um, Gaiden's pacing is really bad. Cause like for the first 4 chapters out of 5 of the game, it feels like it's kind of just meandering and kind of tripping over itself, and it just doesn't know what it wants to do. And then in chapter 5, it just locks the fuck in and has the greatest finale in the entire series. Like, it comes out of nowhere and has one of the best final bosses and everything. It's got like some banging music, and it's just insane. I love the ending of Gaiden, like especially like the actual ending cutscene is probably the greatest emotional moment in the whole series. Like, dude, I cried. I cried so hard for that. It's so good. But like,
Like if you cry every time.
yeah, like if you cry every time. But the path to get there is just So I still like what Gaiden does. So it's gonna go. What's B tier looking like?
E tier?
Yeah, B tier.
Hero 1, Kenzen, Yakuza 1, Yakuza 6, Yakuza 7.
Put it above Yakuza 7.
So below 6.
Yeah, below 6.
And this is Gaiden, right?
Yeah, Gaiden. And that leads us to Infinite Wealth, the last one. Infinite Wealth is another game that I've got a lot on. Because it kind of has the opposite problem of Gaiden, to where it's really good from like the beginning all the way until right before the ending, and then it kind of just falls on its ass right at the very end. And I explained earlier some of the issues I got with this game, like, you know, the ending is kind of weird. It doesn't feel like it resolves anything. It like the final boss is very underwhelming. Yeah, Ebina here. Some of the Ichiban Ichiban kind of gets flanderized a little bit, which sucks. Cause like the whole part about him trying to propose to Sayako, they play it in like the worst way possible, and it's just a fucking terrible way to end off the game. Cause at the beginning of the game, he like tries to propose to Sayako, got like he doesn't know how to, so he botches it so bad. And then like by the end, you know, like you expect him to like man up and really like figure out the correct way to do it, but no, he just acts like a fucking baby and ruins it again. And that plot goes absolutely nowhere, and I don't even know why it's in this game. But even then, despite like Infinite Wealth also has the same kind of pacing. Well, I say same kind. It also has pacing issues like Gaiden, just in different ways. Because the way that this game works is you have 2 protagonists, of course. You have Ichiban and you have Kiryu.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of play as Kiryu and Ichiban, but mostly Ichiban for like the first, let's say, 3/4 of the game. And then you play mostly as Kiryu for the last quarter. But despite you being as Ichiban for most of the game, Ichiban kind of feels like an afterthought. Like, he feels like he has so much time, but you don't really do enough with it. And Kiryu has the opposite problem. It feels like they try to cram so much into so little time that it doesn't really land. So the ending kind of falls flat, which it's so weird because like I feel like with what they were setting up for with Infinite Wealth, this ending was supposed to be a slam dunk. Like it was supposed to be the just like, Kiryu like does the whole thing where like, oh, the Yakuza need to live to atone, and then like he finally gets to meet back up with his family. It's this great emotional moment, and everything's wonderful and happy. But they just don't do that. When I feel like that would have been the easiest way to just have a amazing ending to your game. They just don't do it. And of course, Ichiban just gets thrown to the wayside. Nothing happens with him. It's just I don't know. Like for the most part, this game is really awesome, but it's it fails in some weird ways. It's still a really good game. It's just like, how did you fuck some of the shit up? I don't know.
Right,
Uh,
right.
Still, I want to put it somewhere in A tier. What's A tier again?
Pedophiles, Yakuza 2, Kurohyo 2, Dead Souls, Yakuza 5, and Ishin.
Put it above Dead Souls.
So yeah, you were talking about like ending and stuff. So how do you actually end the game?
Oh, like Ebina?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I just pressed circle.
Oh. Okay. He's really out of breath from that.
Yep. Yeah,
Wait,
that's
I
the final
said
boss.
nothing cool. Nothing cool happens. Just that.
Well, there's the ending cutscenes
Oh yeah,
afterwards.
right.
But we don't need to worry about those.
Mm-hmm.